morning everybody, and welcome to Teachings from the Sea with me, Matt. Oh, and the sea, of course. So yeah, let's get straight into it. One of the great questions asked was about empaths and psychic vampiring. And the reason I wanted to start the video now was just because when I wake up in the morning, I won't break into song, I promise. You can feel heavy, groggy, lethargic. You can basically go through a whole ton of reasons why you should stay in bed, keep the cover over you, and your head on the pillow. There's a ton of those reasons. And basically, in many respects, you're just basically full of stuff that you don't need to hold on to anymore. So then you water down to the sea here, and you're like, okay, I still don't want to go in. And you resist going into the sea, you resist going into the water. You're like, oh, I feel dragged down, feel heavy, feel negative. Oh, I'm frustrated, I don't want to do this. Oh, embracing the cold water, do I want to make my life more painful? Oh, no way. That's not what I want to do. And then there's something inside you just stirs and says, you got to get your butt in the sea. Well, that's what happens for me anyway. And one of the reasons being is that right at this moment, for example, even though my bottom half of the body is in the water, it's the top half, it's the full immersion. It's that point of whereby which the head goes through. So the head now, like I can feel grogginess in my eyes and my face. So that's what I want to start feeling now before I go under, so that you can kind of get like this comparative view, if you like. I mean, I'm quite bubbly this morning for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. I think it's because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take this question on. And then, like I say, no script, so I'm not really quite sure how I'm going to take the question on. Here's how I'm going to take the question on. And one of the answers to the question, or at least one of the solutions that I found with regards to dealing with psychic vampiring, is clean. You just got to really, really clean yourself. But you've got to clean, essentially, I suppose, the psychic element of yourself, where the energies, where the mind kind of feels like it really takes hold of you. And that's why I say at the moment with the bottom half of the body, I can still come out saying and go, oh yeah, it was nice walking into the sea, and it was nice touching the sea. But for me personally, that's not enough. When you first start out touching your hand into the cold water or just touching a foot in, it actually can be quite enough, because it's enough to drag some of that negative energy off of you. But as time goes by, full immersion is the only thing that will really truly do it. So let's go under now without further ado. And there it is. Now, when I first started doing this sea dipping, yeah, I'd go under and I would literally scream and shout and holler, and I would growl. I mean, some part of me wishes I actually filmed those first experiences of going into the sea. I was full of anger, I was full of frustration, full of fear, full of what the hell was going on in my life, feeling completely powerless. And then I was doing a brilliant Qigong practice, and for people who are empaths and energy sensitive, I highly recommend Qigong, because that will give you some base tools that if you can't get to a sea, for example, or into your cold shower, it will give you some amazing tools that again allow you to bring you back into your center and clean off the negative energy that can feel ever so heavy, frustrating, debilitating, and then actually, funny enough, stir the same emotions in you. Because the interesting thing about psychic vampiring is we all have the potential to do it. I mean, let's not beat around the bush there. You know, as soon as we get down on someone else, we're taking part in that. So the biggest thing that I found is just clean. Like now, being angry and negative is just not going to be easy for me to do. But before, when I'm feeling groggy and sensitive and on edge, yeah, absolutely, could totally flip at the simplest of things. Something that on another day when you're feeling happy, you just wouldn't go into that place. So one has to clean that negative energy off of you. Why do we throw negative energy at each other? Well, first thing is emotional contagion theory. So if I'm happy, I pass my happiness on. That's great. But also the opposite is true. Is if I'm angry, I'm going to pass my anger or my sadness on, and you're going to feel it. And I think the guy once spoke about the fact that you could go to a hairdresser's, and if the hairdresser has had a falling out with a friend, or they've received some sad, devastating news, or whatever, anything that's put them now into a negative state, then you can end up basically having a bad haircut from a hairdresser who feels bad, and then that passes that sad feeling on to you. So you don't even have to know the person in order to for the emotion to be contagious, for it to be passed on. However, with regards to psychic vampiring, for me it feels more like when you have a real good, strong, direct personal relationship with that person. And they kind of almost have like a direct path into your being. They might crop up in dreams. You might see something that reminds you of them, and then all of a sudden up comes to the surface that emotion. And if the relationship is sour, is negative, well then that is going to be a vampiring effect. And yes, out of the two, as the empath, the one who feels it more intimately, and is also, let's be honest here, more honest with that feeling, because I've met many psychic vampires, people who are very negative and down on the world, who feel exactly the same things as an empath does. However, they just choose not to acknowledge it. It could be through fear, it could be because they don't understand it and they don't like not being in control of what they're feeling and what they're experiencing. And so they would rather essentially compound the negativity into a block that you can't penetrate through. The sea can. Throw them in the sea. You'll watch them go, ah! And then they'll come out screaming like I did. And then slowly but surely you'll remove their layers. But with regards to actually changing them, you can't change another human being. You can only encourage them to be honest within their introspection, so that they can then start doing the work themselves. I mean, I can turn around and tell you that the sea is great for cleaning negative energy, but if all you do is go, yeah, actually that sounds like a good idea, but you don't jump in the sea, well then you haven't done the work. You've only got knowledge of the work. And so, regardless of whether you're the psychic vampire or you're the empath, one has to take absolute responsibility and accountability for the work that they have to do, no matter how difficult that is. I've got 2 little lovely children and a beautiful wife, and the only time that is really free in my day to come and do this is before they wake up. So I'm in the sea first thing in the morning, because I know I am stronger and better, more alive, more able to function by doing this work, along with the qigong. And the amount of times I've not wanted to do it and stay in bed and all that sort of stuff, and then I have given into that, and then had a day where it just compounds, builds on top of it, build, it gets worse, you go, oh, and then you go back into the sea, or you go back into your practice and you go, I've released it again then. Those are important moments, so don't be harsh on yourself for not practicing, because the comparison, as in when you don't practice to when you do, all of a sudden gives you more confidence and strength in your practice. So then you go back to the practice more often, until it becomes essentially as natural as going to bed and waking up. So in its simplest of forms, we have to, with the emotional contagion theory anyway, is accept that we are not in control of the people that we don't meet, and we're not in control of the people that we do meet, but we are passing our emotions on to each other all the time on a scale that is above and beyond the imaginings, really. And so therefore all we can do in its simplest of forms is, like I say with the teaching from the sea, is clean. Just clean. Just get yourself in there, immerse, wipe it off, whoosh, let it go, start fresh. Will it come back? Of course it will. One dip in the sea is never going to be enough. But what it does is it starts a snowball effect. So it starts off small and then it builds up, gathers speed, gathers pace, gathers momentum, and then before you know it, you've accomplished something. So it's clean practice, patience, perseverance. Acceptance is huge. Forgiveness is massive. Be forgiving towards the person or the event or the situation that you believe is responsible for psychic vampiring you. Because forgiveness and gratitude, when you start playing with those guys, can move mountains. There isn't anything you cannot overcome. But just being aware that you have the power to be forgiving and grateful is one of the strengths that you gain from the cleaning. So you can almost imagine that if, like a Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. Why did he do that? He had to remove the dirt first. He had to get past the crap that was in the way of him seeing how he can truly behave and truly be. And that's the same for all of us. It really truly is. And then the next thing as well is within this whole process is try not to take it personally. So i.e., if you notice yourself as the empath who's taken the psychic abuse from the psychic vampire, whether it's intentional or not, whatever those reasons are, it doesn't really matter, is you may find yourself having to do more work. So i.e., going and doing the sea trips, or doing the qigong, doing the breath work, doing the crystal work, doing all of those things, eating the great food, having fun, dancing, watching the flowers bloom, whatever it is that reconnects you with essentially the magic and essence of life. And then you look at your psychic vampire and you catch them, you're like, oh, they're not doing anything, and they might appear to be successful in their business ventures, for example, or even in their other relationships and family. You go, this is not fair, I do all of this work and You've got to try and get beyond that phase of feeling sorry for yourself and not take it personally. It's your journey and it's their journey, and at points your journey and their journey are totally going across paths, but ultimately it's not personal. It's your emotions are yours, but they're not who you are. So you have to turn around and keep cleaning until you get to this point of you go, I can wash this off. It is no longer a problem. And when you get to that point in the journey, the psychic vampire, I promise you, will have a less strong hold on how they make you feel and how they make you function in your day-to-day living. But in my own personal experience, and before I even understood what empaths and psychic vampiring was and all that sort of jazz, it takes time. It takes time. And so be patient, take your time with it. There's no quick fix that I found of. There's quick solutions, as in dip in the sea, you'll feel great, but it will come back. So you have to find a way of getting a rhythm in your day that builds this strength within you that then loosens the strength that they have on you. And that, my friends, would be my take on empaths and psychic vampiring. And I'm sure there is probably more to share on this subject, so if you want to bring up anything that I've just covered, do it. I mean, you'll find me here again. Luckily today, funny enough though, the clouds are out, and I was like, a cloudy, moody morning. This is perfect for exploring the psychic vampiring. Because this is almost kind of like if you imagine how a person can feel within inside themselves when going through a psychic vampire attack. But again, the sea is calm and clear. So, cloudy and moody above, inside, clear. And there's that one, isn't there, is that you take a glass of water out of the sea and then you just stand it up, it's going to be clear, it's going to be see-through, so it's not blue. So it's what's inside of us. That's totally the place that we need to connect to as often as we can, really, as often as we can. So, big love to all of you. And really, like I did read one, sorry, quickly on the empath one, it says that sometimes they feel the intensity of love that they feel as though it would be too intense for other people to take, and even for themselves to take. Be brave. Be ridiculously brave and challenge that, because you've got to put it out there. You've got to feel your heart. I've got to follow you as a guy, baby. I have got to be led where you will take me, and just trust it. And that's, in a sense, trusting yourself. And again, these are tools that will make you, as a human being, a beautiful human being, stronger and more amazing and more powerful.